All right. You want to give a hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. So you're going to get a lot of value out of today. This will really help you, especially as we're opening up here in California. So this will be a big help. Sylvia, how are we doing on time? You want to give another minute or two?
We can get started. We can start with the housekeeping.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Well, welcome everyone. This is Sylvia here with your
Okay.
local Association of Realtors. And before we get started, we're just going to do review the housekeeping rules. So this is a 1-hour training plus Q&A. We ask that you please mute yourself unless you're speaking. If you have any questions or comments, please use the chat dialog box on the right or use the raise your hand feature. And chat interaction is highly encouraged. You might even win a prize, so make sure you keep an eye out for that. And our speaker this afternoon is Sergio Lujan, and he has been married for 29 years to his high school sweetheart, Rosa. He's a father of 2 to Sienna and Adrian. Sergio has been in the mortgage business for 18 years. He's a lifelong learner, loves developing strategies for partners on how to increase their revenue. Thank you, Sergio, for joining us today. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Sylvia. I appreciate all you do for us. Thanks, Sylvia. Well, everyone, it's a new beginning, and you're going to see a little title here real quick. Let me share my screen. Give me a second here, and beginning. Okay. So you heard a little bit about me. I really enjoy helping partners how to really customize and craft and increase their revenue. And I figured this out probably 10 years ago. It was right around after the recession had started. I realized that we had to get a little creative, and so I started to invest in myself. So this is growing your professional network, and then you'll notice underneath it says Jumpstart to your best year ever. So I'm taking that little approach, and I'm kind of drawing a line in the sand and saying, we have to start over. Whatever business plan we had at the beginning of the year went out the window, by middle of March, literally. Everything, our world changed. And so consequently, we also have to react to the changes and move and maybe kind of expand and stretch ourselves a little further. I was talking to a friend of mine who has been kind of on the fence about really committing to hiring a part-time assistant. And I think I can't recall exactly if she might even be on this call. It took a few months, but she eventually got to the point where she mentally made that commitment. And then within I think a month or so or less, she made a commitment to get some coaching. And then she started getting coaching, which is really the key to all of this, is something called accountability. Because without accountability, it's really hard to take on new concepts and implement them. So kudos to you, Cindy, if you're out there listening. Let's get started. And I'm very confident that by the end of today, you will have something of great value. So let's move through. You already heard a little bit about me. I've been doing this for 18 years. I'm involved with the SRCAR Education Committee, and also very involved with the SIG subcommittee, as some of you have already, perhaps on this call, have gone through SIG or going through SIG. And that's a great program. I totally encourage it. I always promote it when I'm outside having events. I'm also a guest adjunct instructor at Miramar College. What does that mean? That means that the class that I teach doesn't come up every semester. It is a banking class, mortgage and banking class, and I only teach the live classes. So I started that in 2015 when I was invited back. I'm a big believer of the community college system. I am a product of it, and I'm so grateful that I get a chance to give back a little bit when called upon. And then like Sylvia mentioned, I'm also a lifetime learner. I think you have to be, in order to stay in this business, you need to be always expanding and always growing and being willing to stop and listen and pay attention to as the world begins to shift and change, you know, through social media, right? Internet at the beginning. When I got in the business, we were still at the tail end of faxing. We would fax in our conditions. And so I remember standing in line to fax conditions to our lenders. So it's really amazing how the world is always evolving, is always changing, and we have to keep changing with it. This is my son to left, that's Adrian, and my wife in the middle, Rosa. And she's just a wonderful, wonderful woman. I'm so glad that she said yes many, many years ago. So that's just a quick little picture of who I am. Your referrals have slowed down. I'm just speaking to the collective us. At some point in our business, we all cross this road. Your referrals have slowed down. Now what? What do you do now? It's very easy to get into panic mode. I've been there before. I've counseled people who have kind of gotten stuck. Anyone, by the way, I forgot to mention, I've got a few questions that I'll be asking. And I know in these Zoom events, most people go dark, so you can't see who's who. It's not an open forum. But if you could just do me a favor and answer these little questions, it'll really make me feel like to know that you're out there, okay? So it's muted, I can't see you. Am I just sitting here talking to myself? Well, I know that's not the case. But so here goes. So one of the questions is, have you ever felt you had that panic feeling? Has that ever happened to you in your business? I would appreciate a little chat. Let me see if I can see the chats. And if I think I had a friend here, someone was going to help me as well. Anybody? Oh, no, that's awesome. I'd love to see no's. Awesome. This is what most people do. This is my experience. It's just the things that I've learned and the things that I've seen. They'll turn to internet leads. Nothing wrong with them. Zillow has a great program. You could make an argument against that both ways. Realtor.com, I've seen people invest in Realtor.com. Of course, Facebook advertising has been very, very popular the last couple of years. Geographic Farms, that's another good source of business. I have friends that have done grocery bag collection type stuff. It's great for the community garage sales, trying to bring neighborhoods together. That's awesome. And then your traditional networking events and so forth. So, not here to talk about them. I'm not here to talk about down to them. I'm not here, to me, they're neutral. Those were just things that personally, I said, you know what can I do that fits? Let's see if we can get this up. I froze up there for a second, excuse me. Okay. So the question is, well, why should you even listen to me? Well, there's a couple reasons, pretty darn good reasons. Number one, because I am a lifetime learner, I always have my ear to the ground. I'm always open to listening to a new strategy and to take the time to kind of synthesize it and see if it makes sense for me. Because ultimately, that's what it's about. All these wonderful strategies that we hear of, and we have great coaches out there. I think they're all awesome. The question is, will you apply the information? Does it fit you? It's called suitability. Is it suitable for you? So that's important as you digest this information today here. It's going to be short. It may be 30, 40 minutes at most. Hopefully a lot of Q&A afterwards because this is a good topic that you can generate a lot of Q&A. I've invested just slightly under, I was doing some math, slightly under $20,000. I'm sure by next year it'll be over $20,000 in professional training. I've taken, Jarvis was with us for the first installment on June 11th. I've participated in his program. I've also participated in the core training by referral only, and then some personality testing with STAR, and also have invested in LinkedIn University. These are all good sources for one to really expand because we've got to keep expanding. We've got to keep growing. The business is always changing. So on average, when I look back, I see between 25 and 50% of my referrals will come either from past clients or I had to kind of lump them in together, professional relationships. I didn't take the time to split them all up. But so I know how to do that. I have a good mechanic that is a very good referral source. a restaurateur who's also a very good referral source that has, and it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter what type or what line of business. I have police officer, great referral source. You just have to know how to approach them. And then in that approach there, and I'll get into some meat and potatoes. This is not going to be just light.
Start video and then.
I know.
Everybody there? Okay, I just heard someone spoke up. No problem, we'll keep going. So we're going to build a professional network. The idea here is you're building a farm here. And so I want you got to start, you got to change your mindset. This is very important. The way the mindset goes, everything goes. Now I picked a very, very, very shining star that has done this at a very high level. So when you go to a Padres game and you go see my Dodgers play, oof, I know not everybody loves those Dodgers, but I do, I grew up there. You're going to see somewhere in there, somewhere in that stadium, Melissa Tucci is going to pop up. And she's going to tell you that she is the official realtor for the San Diego Padres. I mean, that is a very, very, very great calling card. Great calling card. Now, how does that happen? How and you got to stop and think, if you're like if you're kind of put on a scientist mind, how did that happen? I don't know Melissa. I don't know her. I know she's been in the business for a long time, but I do know someone else that I met through the core. Her name is Rita Casey. She did the same thing, but with the Orlando Magic in Florida. And I've heard her story before, and I can kind of tell her story, but I wanted to pick this one because this is someone, we know where San Diego is, and we know the Padres, and some of us have been there before. So I wanted to kind of springboard off of that because this is a very real thing. As a matter of fact, these people that have these relationships, they don't advertise on Facebook. They don't do farms. They don't do some of the things that we tend to normally do because they operate more on a one-on-one relationship building with employers like the Padres. They're an organization, the Padres they employ there, and different groups. And so they've kind of assimilated themselves into independent little different groups, and you never hear about them. So they're kind of they're kind of like a unicorn. You just never see them. Yeah. So, but I want to express this to you because I want you to, you don't have to do it at this level where you're looking at, oh my gosh, the Padres, I could never do that. That's fine. But you can probably do it at your church or your place of worship. You probably can do it with maybe a homeschooling group that you're a part of. You probably can do it with maybe, I heard a couple of months ago, someone that I had just met, he was part of a beer making group. And he was in the insurance business, and we were talking, and I said, hey, have you approached any of them? He had just started. And I gave him some tips on how to do that. And so you can do this, you can create this for yourself in whatever small group or organization you belong to. You just have to change your mindset. So the good thing is you don't have to write all this down, but for you note takers, because I'm one of them, I do enjoy taking notes. I've always been a note taker. What does it take to develop a professional network? Okay, number one, this is huge. It's a powerful why. Because it is not the low-hanging fruit. It's not. You really have to have a very, very strong why. And I'm gonna take you back for a minute here. If you could all just take a step back and think to yourselves, and I'm hoping you could respond to this in the chat. What was it about real estate that got you excited or interested and you decided to make that shift? Because statistically speaking, we all here came from another industry. Very few people start at age 18 and stay a 50-year career. So please give your response. I'll give mine as well, but I definitely want you to contemplate that. What was it that originally got you involved in real estate? It's okay if you say money. It's all right. That was a big motivator for me. But it's got to get a little bit more defined. over time, you've got to really tighten it up. So I'm going to take a quick, quiet myself, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to put in mine as well. And let's see if I can get in there. Here's my little chat box. Let's see, chat box. Right.
I'm still here, Sergio, if you need my help.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. I'm going to type in if you want to. Oops. If you want to help me read them, that'd be great. I was tired of working to a split. All right. Awesome. Okay, I put mine in. It's only fair if I'm asking you to do it. I should do it too. Awesome. Let's see here now. I just saw something come up here. All right, I'm in the thank you. I've got helping dreams, investing, being my own boss. Nice, Jeffrey. Oh, it was an escrow. Lori was an escrow, enjoyed helping people, and you found another way to help more people. I'm probably the only one on this call that probably had this specific. I had a job, check this one out. I would go into work around 5:30, between 5:30 and 5:45. I check in, I'll tell you what it was in a minute. I'd go in, I'd check in, 5:30, 5:45. I'd work for about 3 to maybe 4 hours. So I put in a 4-hour shift. Then I had a split shift. I had a period of time during the day, about 3 hours, 3.5 hours, where my shift had ended and there was no work until I returned. And I would come back somewhere around 1 or 1:30. Then I would work until, I don't know, maybe 5:30 to 6. So what did I do? I was a school bus driver. I worked for San Diego Unified School District from age about 18 and a half when I graduated in June, and by July I was sitting there learning how to become a school bus driver. Back then I was making almost 3 times the minimum wage. I took that job real quick because I was helping raise some of my brothers and sisters. And I hated that part, that I would exhaust a 12, almost 13-hour day, but I'd only get paid for 7 hours. I hated that part about my job. I loved the freedom. It was awesome. It was a great first job, and I stayed there for a long time. There was a lot of circumstances that developed during that time that I had to stay there. But I couldn't wait to get away from that. And eventually, through a set of circumstances, I found out, I actually went and took a real estate class and then learned about the world of real estate. But I at that time, I needed something that had more control, and sort of, and I got into lending at the end of the day when I looked at the different categories. And so the bottom line is, I want you to go back to that moment in time, especially the longer we get in the business, the longer we've been in the business, it's easy to forget the why. I know it changes sometimes as life goes on, and our whys can change. That's fine. But I wanted to get you, because that is important. You're not going to implement anything new if you don't know why you're doing it. Just doing it because it's everyone else is doing it, it's a sexy thing to do, and oh, you should come and try what I'm doing, regardless of what the particular arena it's in, whether social media related or other buying leads or whatever. You've got to find something that resonates with you. And for me, this idea really resonated for me. And I think, in part, Joe Stump, who was a by referral only originator, he started that company 35 years ago. And that's where I first oh my gosh, I can do that. I can build a business that I'm not a car salesman, nothing negative against them. I don't have to be swarming all over people. No. And so through that was the beginning days of how I learned So that's why I spent a lot of time right now, maybe 3 or 4 minutes, on a powerful why, because that is super important. The number 2 thing that you need if you want to develop a professional network is you need to develop a giver's heart versus a taker's mentality. And they're 2 opposite places. Giving comes from the heart. Taking usually comes up from here. I've got a couple of friends that they in spite of the length of time that I've known them, one is over 20 years, one of the most selfish people that I know is this particular person, because his mentality is always, what can you do for me? He never has anything to offer, never any positive encouragement. Everything is, hey, I started a new job. Hey, can you refer me business? And he never gives. And it's a sad thing because I can't change his heart. And so this training, this discussion will begin. If you want to apply it, you'll have to really check yourself in this area, because you've got to check yourself and make a decision, because people will sniff you out. If you are just asking for business without no intention of giving back, they'll find you out. So how do you do that? How do you change that? Well, you've got to read good books and watch good content. Here's another question for you. Has anyone read How to Win Friends and Influence People? Could I get a yes or a no on how to win friends and influence people? Anyone remember that book? That's an old school book. That is a great book. That book has been written, oh my gosh, was it in the 30s? Dale Carnegie wrote that book. And it's a great book to go back and read. Honestly, we should read it once a year. It is a great read. It is a great read. I totally recommend it. It's a timeless piece of work. It will never go out of style. Never. How to Win Friends and Influence People. What a wonderful book that is. The Go-Giver. The Go-Giver by Bob Burg. It's a little book. And that little book will be actually one of the books that will be giving away when we do a little giveaway. The Go-Giver, in essence, it talks about how you have to lead with a giving hand. Most people are asking for something, but you have to lead with a giving hand. If you could learn to do that, then you will create a powerful professional network. And then number 4, associate with like-minded professionals. That's very important. You are who you associate with. We tell that to our kids all the time. And then number 5, this is the hard part. This is the hardest one. You have to be willing to commit minimum at least 90 days to implement these strategies. These are not just, quick turnarounds. I say that as a disclaimer because I have had many a time where I've started to build a relationship. I went into it thinking this is going to take a couple of months for me to build up this relationship, and boom, within the first month, all of a sudden we have now a working relationship, a mutual client. So, but I don't want to, overpromise. It's quite the opposite. You've got at least 90 days to go through this mind shift, because you have to change your mind. Yeah, I know in our business, we're always looking for the next deal, the A bar, the A buyer, the A bar, or the A seller. But what about the other 70% of people that aren't ready? What do you do about them? Well, that's a whole nother talk, because there's a whole nother market there. So let's see, number 1, and let's see if I got in all my slide information. So where do you find them? I skipped that little part. Should have put it in there. Where do you find them? The number 1 thing you can do is to check your cell phone. That is it. You can check you have a wealth of contacts in your cell phone that after today, I'm going to shed light on it, and it's going to open up your eyes. You have more people in there. Honestly, you have everyone you need. I had this revelation a few months ago. Everything you need, everyone that you need, every contact that you'll ever need, okay, is already in your cell phone. Now, of course, if you're just 18, you're just getting in the business, that may not be the case. But if you've been in the business a while, and a while could be 5 years or more, I'm telling you, you have a gold mine in your phone. But we're not trained the system that trains us it doesn't train us and doesn't keep reminding us that we're in a relationship building business, that we're not in a transaction business. Everything that we get trained on, through our associations, and no disrespect, they have to do what they have to do, and they do a good job. They have to train us on how to use the CRMLS and how to use the system and how to use this and use Zoom and use this and use that. And that's great. We need that. That's foundational. We can't run a business without that. That's operational. But at the end of the day, you're in the relationship business. And if you can't or are unwilling to build relationships with people, your business will do this. This will be your income, up and down, up and down. One quarter you've made money, one quarter you didn't, one quarter. And then thankfully this business is very forgiving. It's very forgiving. I've met people, it's happened to me too, where you've made the majority of your income in half the year or in 2/3 of the year. And you're like, wow, out of 12 months, I got 6 or 7, earnings, revenue, and that carried you, and that's a 6-figure income. I mean, it's very few places you can do that. I surely couldn't do it where I used to work, or being a teacher, or any of the people that I work with in the school district. You had to be there. You had a contract, you had to be there, it was a fixed time. In our business, it's very forgiving because it's commission-based. But can you imagine if you had a business that every month, consistently, I don't care if it's 1 deal a month or 2 deals, doesn't matter. Could be 20, doesn't matter, that it was consistent. Whatever number it was for you, because that's got to be the key. It's got to be your number, that it was consistent all the time. That's a business, that's a good business. And that's what this can help you do. But you've got to make some changes. So I talked to you about how you already know these people. They're already in your cell phone. What would you do? And I'll get a little bit more deeper in my next slide. I can see here, I got a little buried here. What would you do? How would you work with them? How would you develop? Well, there's eventually you would stay in touch with them. I'll keep going. Evidence, you'll have an evidence of success, a video or written, a postcard. And you'll look for ways of bringing value. It's not just, bringing things by all the time and just, hey, think of me, your next referral. No, there's other ways. I'll get more deeper into it. You can host a business happy hour with your people, with your sphere of influence, your dentist, your doctor, your dry cleaner, your attorney, your CPA. You can do it with yourself. You don't have to try to invite cold invites. You can do it within your own sphere. This will create such community among your people, that where you're bringing them together and they're getting to meet each other because they need business too. They're in the people business too. And now you're creating a very kind of like symbiotic relationship. It's awesome. I'll get more into it a little bit later, but these are just some really hardcore tips that you can put into effect. If you want this presentation, please, this would be a good time. I'll probably ask you one more time. Go ahead and put in your email in the chat. That would be very helpful. But this in and of itself, well, remember, it'll take a mindset shift. Remember, this is MindSet Bootcamp, right? This is installment number 3. We've got one more coming up with Melinda DePerna coming up next week. She will be teaching us she's going to take my presentation here. Mine is very broad in nature, but she will go deeper in a very specific area. She'll go deeper in a realtor to realtor B2B in that aspect. Relocation business, out of area realtors, how to develop business within your own set of colleagues. She's done a great job. She, on average, around 50% of her income comes from referrals from other agents. And there's a way to do that. So she'll dive deep into that specific topic with those specific types of professionals, because that is a professional network. It's within your own, within your own industry. I've seen that before. Who is it? I've seen, well, the first place I saw it, I think the Women's Council. I think they have a network that through SRCAR, they have a network. If you join the group, you can exchange referrals among yourselves for other areas, incoming, outgoing. So the concept is not new by any means. And she'll dive deep into that arena. I'm keeping it very broad, kind of broad in spectrum, but but believe me, that's because that's what I've done. So I'm teaching you what I've done. I'm not teaching you Melinda's topic because I've never done that before. So we're all trying to stay true to, we're trying to stay in our lane, right? So that's why I signed up for this one, because this is where I had the greatest value that I could bring to you in this post-COVID-19 environment, where we all of a sudden got our legs chopped off under us and we couldn't go, you guys couldn't go out and show homes. I couldn't meet with people. I normally have one-on-one appointments with clients that are looking to buy because I'm helping with their financing. You couldn't do that. So we had to shift real quick. And so some of us are still, we need to come out of that. And that's where this whole mindset bootcamp was born out of, was the need to give something positive and go beyond just the operational stuff and really give something of value. Let's see if we can keep going here. And Sylvie, are you still with us? I know you had some work to do, so I get it if you're not.
I'm here.
Okay, cool. Could you help me with, if there's any questions at this point? I think I'd like to kind of like just take a little pause and take a breath. Do you see any questions up till now while I move on?
I have not seen any questions, just comments.
Okay, very good. So let me see. Okay, perfect. Now, I already covered this. We'll keep going. Now, Sergio, this idea sounds great, but where do I start, right? I already started to fill you in on that before. That little top part should have been on the other one. So you're going to start with your phone, okay? That's where you're going to start. Because, well, actually, you need to start with your heart first. You're going to have to start with your heart if you want to go down this road. And I would recommend, because you might burn yourself out if you're just trying to go like, oh, this is easy money, I'm going to go get some money. Believe me, be careful. So these clients, these potential referral partners are already in your phone or you already do work with. And some of these folks, like, you may not know a probate attorney. That's not like your most common law that you tend to deal with. But you might know a divorce attorney, because chances are half of your friends are divorced or getting a divorce, statistically speaking. I know I've almost been there a couple of times myself, so I know that it's out there. That's very prevalent. Divorce attorneys, they have a need to refer to the right agent, to the right broker. Your CPA, enrolled agents, your tax preparers. I know they're a little busy right now because it's still tax times technically, not until it was July 15th. Those are great referral partners, people to develop relationships with. I'll give you more tips on how to do that. Of course, I've mentioned them already: business owners, doctors, dentists, restaurant owners, mechanics, employers. Okay, now here we go. Employers. This is a big one. Employers and HR departments. This is an example of Melissa Tucci with the San Diego Padres. Okay. I don't know her story. I'd love to meet her and interview her and ask her, and that would be a great thing to bring back to the community. How did she do that? Well, I don't know how she did it, but I can tell you how one person did it. That's Rita Casey. She's now semi-retired. She's one of the 3 principals for the core training. At the time when she was involved with Orlando Magic, she met one of the individuals up in the organization through what? Through an event. It was a charity event. And she met a person that began the chain effect of leading her to a decision maker. I think it was only like 1 or 2 people away. I have to go back and listen to that CD. But she, in essence, connected with someone at a charity event, and that's where that relationship began. And then over time, she wound up doing, Florida, there's a lot of golfers. She did one particular golfer, and then McNamara, and then it led to others. And so taking good care of your clients goes a long way, because that's how she got into the golf industry, and also she got into the basketball, professional basketball arena, and started working with the Orlando Magic. Really a phenomenal story, and it's happening. Our local hospitals, there's a great employment centers. Some of our big employers, we have school districts, we have, oh my gosh, there's so many employers that we have that it requires someone that's willing to take the time, learn your craft. You just can't walk in there and just like, hey, can you send me some business? It doesn't work like that. You do have to you have to prepare yourself. But there are great places here locally that you can go and do that within your own sphere, Let's see, let's keep going. Perfect. I already talked about Melinda on relocation out of area realtors. Already covered this, changing your mindset. That's where everything begins.
There's a question, Sergio.
Go ahead.
Okay. So the question is,
yes,
how do you give referrals back to businesses? Don't you usually need attorneys?
Well, it reminds me of something. When in this exchange, in this flow of referrals, I am in no way suggesting that you're asking for any funds or any compensation. So, for example, let's say an attorney. I have an attorney right now in mind that I'm pursuing, they practice a very, very fine, specific niche type of law. And I haven't met with him yet. I only know one of his teammates, so I'm working on creating a luncheon with him. But the point is, we're not asking for money. So let's get that out of the way. Maybe you can ask the question, whoever originated the question, Sylvia. We're not exchanging money. So what we're looking is to find a way that we can mutually create a win-win scenario for, in this case, the question was the attorney. So if it's bankruptcy, divorce, business law, there's a variety of different types of law. We become an advocate for the attorney. And honestly, usually it takes I've found us to give one in order to get 2 or 3. It's kind of like the number that's worked out itself. So this is the part where you have to have the heart to want to help someone else in their business. But if you do that, if you deposit that seed, you'll be rewarded. You will, very much so. I hope that answers the question. If you can follow up, if you want to add to that question, please do. Please add to that question if we want to have a dialogue, or you could pop in too. Bing. Oh, this little thing gets stuck here. There we go. So let's pretend for a minute that you spoke to your past client and they said, yes, Sergio, I would love to introduce you to my HR person. Well, what do you do after, what do you do in the meeting is a very, very, there was no way I could cover the entire thing here because there's hours of listening and training that I've done on the topic, but I'll give you a couple of points as to like what to do during or after the meeting. During the meeting, depending on who it is, you're asking them, how can I help your business grow? That's the part that comes from the heart. How could I help your business grow? That question alone opens up the dialogue really, really well. People like, oh, like they're not used to it, first of all. So they're like, oh, well, you know what? And then they open up. They'll open up to you, say, well, I have this need or I have that need. And then usually they'll open up because they notice right away that you're trying to help them. Now there's a little bit more of a diagnostic that is just too much right now that you can go into. There's very specific probing questions, but at the fundamental, before I got any training on it, all I would ask was, how can I help your business? I want to help your business grow. I've seen you in town. I know who you are. If you do, definitely don't want to make it up. If you know who they are, let them know. How can we work together? I want to help you the rest of the year build your business. That opens up dialogue. And when they see that, most people, not all, but most people will say, you know what, sir, you're right. What can we do together? And it opens up their mind and their heart. And now they're actually now engaging with you. Once you get to that point that, okay, Now you're looking for people, not just for yourself, but you're looking for people that you can hand out to your other partners. That could be a bookkeeper, it could be, right, it could be, like I said, an attorney, it could be a doctor, it could be a dental referral. You know, dentists are always looking for new patients. It could be, and when you have that, I wouldn't just say, hey, call my guy, call my gal. I wouldn't say that. I would look to make a warm introduction. Go out of your way. Let them find out that you had a hand in driving that business to them. So that's important. You can do this, and then the follow-up campaign to this is much more, as you can see here, you can do a bi-weekly, bi-monthly call, depending on the type of business, but you do want to be available. You want them to know who you are. You want them to recognize you. So start a birthday program for your network, your professional network. Send out a monthly video. I mean, it's really easy now, right? It really is. Send an evidence of success. Showcase a client. We see it all over social media. Showcase a client, but send it directly to your professional network. You can start with 10. You can just say, it doesn't have to be 100. You can start with 10, set that as a goal. And then even do this, the informed, what I call a quarterly happy hours. It doesn't matter if the happy hour, it doesn't have to be 30 people there. You can have 2 or 3 people there. That's a happy hour. The point is you're trying to create community. And especially now, as we've come out of COVID, this idea of creating community within your sphere will be, I believe, it'll be very welcomed, even more so than before. Now, do you meet them at the office? You don't. Now, you can't help it with all of them. I talked to a dry cleaner just 2 weeks ago, and I couldn't get him, I couldn't budge him. He's like, nope, this is where I got to meet. Fine. In the best of circumstances, meet him outside for coffee, light breakfast, lunch, whatever be the case, around a meal. That's the ideal, because in their office, they have too many distractions. They control, you're at their mercy. So that's important, something to take into consideration. The question, can we find a strategic way of working together? Goes a long way. That question alone opens up tremendously. Don't sell yourself in that first meeting, bragging on how many homes you sold. Hey, I sold 150 homes last year. I'm the best agent in the whole Temecula Valley. They may not care about that, because what do people care about? Themselves. So knowing that psychology, you should be asking, what can you do for them, not what they can do for you. Through that process, and we can go more deeper into it later on in another forum at the end of you'll see at the end of Zoom. You can figure out, customize. You may need help on that. You definitely need some input on that. You can do that with your manager. You can do that with me. You can kind of brainstorm on how to create that win-win scenario. So that is, in a nutshell, just a very, very surface but still actionable. I've given you enough today to know where to go, who to talk to, and at least one good question to ask to open up their mind and heart by asking them, how can we work together? How can I help your business grow? That one question will open up the door big time for most business owners. We're at the end of our discussion today, and let me see, I can't see the time here yet. I can see all kind of action here going on except the time. How about that? Sylvia, how are you doing? Am I still under the hour?
I'm doing good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 1:45.
Okay, perfect. I was hoping I'd fall between 30 and 40 minutes, so I went a little bit over. At this point, if there's any questions, please unmute yourselves or put them in the chat. We will be doing a little book giveaway, the Go Giver, and then I'm talking to the 4 instructors. We're working on a mastermind group. If you're interested in that, you've heard Jarvis, for those of you that started with Jarvis, you've heard David, you've now heard me. All of these are very big topics. We'll be going a little deeper. It's still in discussion. If you're interested in something like that, please just type in your email and say interested in mastermind group. This is not a sales environment, a sales pitch. We're all trying to help each other. I've seen several billboards over the last few weeks put up by different companies. We're in it together and community, and it's true. We need to remind ourselves that we're not alone, because I know in this period of isolation, a lot of us felt that way. I know because I got a chance to talk to clients and realtors that were struggling, and I had to kind of work on their forbearance and stuff with their lenders. So that's where this comes from. It comes from the heart. So I hope that you would respond there if you'd like to be a part of that and get more information as we move along. Any other questions? Any new questions?
There's a question on the chat from Vanessa Bradford.
Okay.
And it says, once we talk to, say, an attorney and agree on how we can share their business, then what? How do we flip it to have them send us referrals? Okay.
Well, so great question. So I'll share it in response to, I'm going to pretend for a minute that I gave them a referral. Okay. Let's suppose, so the one thing that I would do is I would make it a point, in a perfect world, I would, hey, this is a tricky part, trying to coordinate the referral, and when they're meeting, that you're there. That's not easy, because you're trying to balance your schedule, their schedule, right? Everyone's schedule. In a perfect world, you would show up with the client. I've done this plenty of times, especially during the recession when I was introducing them to bankruptcy attorneys. I would show up at the appointment. I wanted the attorney to know this person is being referred to you because of me, because I endorsed you, and I have something called the triangle of trust. And so you got to take this very strategically. You just can't just throw a name and number. If you want to build it deeper, you've got to establish that triangle of trust. So either A, you do it by going in person, if you can. If you're not, I understand, we're all busy. If you can't do it, then you've got to make sure that you've communicated either by email or voicemail. Hey, Joe, whoever the person you're referring to, I'm referring you so-and-so. I just gave them your name and number. Look for their information. It's going to come through your secretary or whatever process they have. Look for that information because it's coming at you. This one's from me. Now, they'll call you. They will call you. And because that's a case. That's a case for them in this case. They'll call you. Hey, thank you so much. I got your voicemail, or Susie, whoever told me. Now you've broken through. Now you have a relationship that you're starting to build, and you can nurture that. Hey, Joe, this is where, let me ask you a question. Do you come across, if I were a realtor, do you come across with folks that need to sell their home because of A or B or C? Oh, well, I do. You have to retrain their mind, some of them. You may have to retrain their mind to get them into the referring, type of mentality. So it does take a little bit of work, and that's how I would handle it. I hope that answers your question, Vanessa, because that's what I would do.
There's another question from Lali Guerriero. It says, what are ideas for connecting with when you're newer in a community, building business in this time of social distancing? I started knocking doors and hosting community happy hours, but can't do that now.
Right. That is a good one. This is a new environment for all of us, indeed, and for myself as well in this arena. So how would I do it? So let's see. So let me put myself in the question. I'm in a new community. I've been here for 15 years. So over time you start meeting people, but now you're in a new environment and you're looking to build professional networks. So I would start with this. If I'm in a new area, everyone to you is going to be relatively new. What do I mean by that? I'm assuming it's a new dentist, a new doctor, right? What do we need? We need to establish our services, a new mechanic, a new car dealership, whatever it may be the case, a new store, a new dry cleaner, you start with the services that you use. And you're reprogramming yourself as well. You do have to have a little bit of a little script in the sense, meaning you've got to know what you're going to say, But the point is that I'm trying to drive home is you have to pay attention to your sphere. We all go out and we run into people at somewhere, someplace as we're running our errands. It could be our favorite restaurant. It could be, well, the gyms are now open again, right? The gyms. It could be, there's some, what do we do? Like where do we normally go, right? That's what I'm referring to. You've got to change your mind on how you see the world. And I know it's tricky because we're coming from this isolation. Now we have to open up. And so I want to open up your mind first, then your heart, to be open to actually meet people. I remember in the first year of being in business, I don't know if anyone can remember this one. Do you remember being in business when you would hand out your card every day? Did anyone else do that in the beginning? I did. I made a conscious decision. Please tell me I wasn't the only one. I said, I'm not going to go out unless when I go out, I'm going to make sure that I'm out there. I'm going to hand out my card to at least 2 people every time I go out. And I would tell them, hey, my name is Sergio. I just got involved in the mortgage business. If I can be of service to you or your family, here's my card. This is how I do my advertising. I don't in the old days, I would say I don't advertise in the penny saver or in the newspaper. There was a lot of online advertising. Now you can just substitute it. And I would give a card. And I'm telling you, maybe 10% of the people would call me back. But that was some business that I would not have had if I wouldn't have given them my card. And so as old school as cards are, they're still very effective. I still talk to people who are trying to sell me on the latest and greatest internet, and nothing against it, but they're trying to sell me on why I should pay them $500 or $600 a month. I said, man, I do business the old school way. I still have a business card. I meet with people. I talk to people, and what do? They're like, oh, okay. Is that working? Yes, it's working. It's like, oh, well, and they just click. So you become your greatest cheerleader by going out in a new community and letting people know what you do. You are your greatest advocate. But you've got to decide to do that. I had friends at that time when I was doing that, they would say, how can you do that? What do you say? Doesn't that sound self-serving? And they would come up with all these reasons and excuses why I shouldn't be handing out my business cards. Those are called naysayers. There's a ton of them. They're all over. They're all around you. Some of them might even be in your family. Be careful. Don't pay them no attention. You do what's right. You do what's right, you will come ahead. That's how I know that's a long answer, but that's how I would do it, because that's how I did it in the beginning 18 years ago, and it still works today. But now you can say, hey, check me out on Instagram and check me out here, and you have a lot more to offer now than just a business card. Anything else? Let's see. No, I think we're good. I think we're good with the questions. I don't see anything else here. All right, nope. All right, awesome. Anything else, Sylvia? I think we've covered everything that I wanted to cover today. I think at some point the association will also send this out. And the biggest thing I could encourage you, if you want to be a part of that mastermind group, that is a community of like-minded people who we're in a space of giving and sharing. It's not just taking, it's sharing. And these tips, I'm telling you, it works. Go into your phone, look at your past clients, ask yourselves with this fresh perspective, you have more than enough to make your business grow this second half of the year. As a matter of fact, I know in my heart, because of our business, you can make what you lost in that second quarter, you can make it up this second half of the year if you change your mindset. Change your mindset, tweak, add this little aspect of building a professional network to whatever you do now in market development. Add that to your little, what do they call it, a quiver when you fire off an arrow. You'll see that you'll at least get 1 or 2 listing or buyer between now and the end of the year. And it'll be directly attributable to this day today, 100%. I know it, I've seen it, it works, and it's simple. And you don't have to go out and spend a whole lot of money to do it. Let's do our final question for our book giveaway, which is our little book, The Go Giver. So let me ask a quick question. And what I like about the system here that Zoom has created is they're pretty awesome. The system is very intuitive, and it picks up the first person that types it in. So get your fingers ready. Let me pick a question. Okay, here we go. And what is the name of the professional baseball team that Melissa Tucci works with? All right. Looks like, oh my gosh, okay. Lisa, you are fast. Okay, Lisa, have you ever read, because I think Lisa's a reader, have you ever read The Go Giver? This is Lisa Whaley. Okay, great, because I ran into this issue the last time we met. Lisa, how many books do you read, Lisa? Can you respond? Tell the group. I think you're very inspirational. How many books have you read this? See, there you go. Lisa reads, she is like the poster child for this. She reads 2 to 3 books a month.
Wow.
Are any of those books audio books? I'm just curious. My gosh, she's a voracious reader. Way to go, Lisa. I think in sign language, I think this is when you clap, right? So, way to go, Lisa. All right, awesome.
There you go, clean it really good.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of today's little talk here.
Hold on.
All right, I like that. Savvy card. Thank you for putting that out there, Sylvia. That's great. I appreciate that. Sweet. Well, Go Giver, Lisa. I've got 2 books that need to go out this week here. Make sure I need to follow up with this one and the previous little webinar. So we're officially now over. We've ended this session. If you would like to unmute yourselves and have anything to say or questions to ask, I am free for a little bit, another 10 minutes if necessary. If not, that's fine. You can go out about your day. Thank you for joining us. We'll be doing the 4th installment coming up. When is it? Oh, there it is. Sylvia's already on it. The 23rd. That's with Miss Melinda DePerna, and she will be talking about deep dive into realtor to realtor relationships and creating that, how to go about that. So she's very good at that. Very, very, very good. Melinda came out of property management and has a great, wonderful story to talk about how that happened. She was in property management for like 20 years or plus, and how she got into sales and how she used that strategy of building relationships with colleagues to really, really just build a great business. So we're excited about that. Thank you all for joining us. Sylvia, you can close this out, or I'm not sure if you had to run an errand. I'm supposed to close this out.
I'm here. I was able to stay.
Oh, you were? Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Very good. I think we're done. So thanks all. Thank you all, and we'll be in touch with you. Appreciate you all, and get back to work. Get back to work. All of us. We have to get back to work now that COVID's not over, but at least the state is opening up. So go and talk to your past clients and build new relationships with your professionals out there. Awesome.
Thank you, Sergio.
Okay, you're welcome.